With LEGO changing the Arc 170 cockpits from trans black to clear recently, that got me thinking, what if LEGO.com was more customizable, where you could customize your sets through LEGO.com? Let me explain. Hello there everybody, and welcome to my newest long form video, where we will be discussing on how LEGO could make their sets more customizable through their website. This video will have two chapters, being sets and minifigures, so I'll put the time codes for each one there if you are only interested in one or the other, so there you go. Also, I'll be mainly using LEGO Star Wars examples, but I might use some other themes, but this could be applicable to all themes, but I'm just going to use Star Wars because that's what I mainly focus on. So yeah, sit back, relax, and let me explain. So basically, the way this works is if you go to lego.com and you buy a LEGO set, at checkout, or before checkout, I guess, you could basically customize the set like this. Let's say I go to buy Obi-Wan's Jedi Starfighter, but there could be certain aspects of the set that I don't like the stud shooters or the tint of the cockpit, even though the clear one is the better one compared to the darker version. But let's say at checkout, LEGO has this list of things you can go through to swap them out, like changing the tint of the cockpit, or swapping this piece out for a tile, or getting rid of stud shooters, small details like that. Or maybe with the new Republic Juggernaut, I don't like the sand blue randomly throughout the set, so what if I can just change that out for dark gray to make it look better? Or let's take Moff Gideon's light cruiser, for example. What if I want to make it into a Republic light cruiser? Maybe LEGO could have the option to do that, even though I think that's a very severe case of this example, and I don't think that would happen if we were to do this. Another example would be right here. Instead of these spring-loaded shooters, maybe they just include some light gray bricks, so for people that don't like spring-loaded shooters, they can just have the light gray bricks instead. And another great one would be, if it's more rich and extreme, again, like the Moff Gideon's light cruiser, but would be the swapping out the speeder and whatever the other thing is, the mediocre clone builds for a Republic ATRT, and a lot of people have made alternate builds of the ATRT with the battle pack pieces, so it would be cool if you could swap that out. This would also be a good feature for the mech sets, because nowadays they have no posability in the knees or elbows, because they decided just to make it all one piece, and that I think really hurts these mech sets. So, instead you could pick to have ball joints, or if you like to have no posability, you can choose to have no posability. And if you didn't know, there are two different colors of ball joints, being gray and dark gray. So if you could just swap those out, I mean, that's just small detail, but that could really help or hurt a set. So I think that would be a cool thing if LEGO could implement that. Or there's this Zane mech that I really like, but it has one big problem, and that's that right here, this piece prevents the chest plate from going all the way in. And now I know I can just remove that piece and it makes it look a lot better, but I think I should have the option to choose that. And it would be really cool if we could have the option to remove those stud shooter cannons. Or let's take the 2021 TIE Fighter, for example. Instead of having these ball joints, they could have had clips up here, and that would have really helped this set and would not have detracted from the look as much. Or with the TIE Bomber and the TIE Fighter from this set, they both have the more accurate cockpit, but it still looks weird to a lot of LEGO Star Wars fans, because for the past however long they've been using a different piece. So that would be better for customization and definitely undivided the community a little bit. Or like in the 327th battle pack. Or you could choose if you want the oversized ATRT or a more accurate minifigure scale ATRT and a bark speeder. Or the ATRT from the 327th battle pack, first off giving it a ball joint here so it doesn't just go up and down, and replacing this with a more accurate cannon that's not just a stud shooter. Another good one would be swapping out the cannons for the MTT to make it longer. To be fair, that's already a pretty easy fix. If you just get some light gray lightsaber hilts, then you can swap it out pretty easily, but that'd still be a good one. I think he gets the point by now that there are many great examples, and so that's it for the Lego sets, and now let's get into the minifigures. Minifigures have been quite the hot topic in the Lego Star Wars community, especially with clone troopers, so, this is going to be a little harder to fix, and this won't fix everything, but, I'll do my best. So, starting with clone troopers. So, do you know those minifigure factories that they have on Lego.com and in Lego stores? I want that, but for clone troopers. Let me explain. So let's say I walk into a Lego store and I'm going there to buy a Captain Rex minifigure. I walk up to the clone trooper factory and then I can choose small details like if the ammo pouch should be this big, or the accurate smaller, or if the pauldron should be this big, if he should have arm printing or not, the physical waist cape, the type of guns he comes with, and most importantly, the swapping helmet holes are down here to make them look a lot better, and that would definitely undivide the community just a little bit. And I think one of the best parts of this idea is you could, of course, switch between styles of clone troopers. So you could have the mixed style, animated style, and live action style. Because I put up a video on a poll last week and I asked everybody, what were their thoughts on the different styles of clone troopers, and I got some mixed answers, but I think fans should be able to choose this. So basically the way this would start out, like say if I walk up to the screen, this is how it would work. So the first thing you'd see would be the normal Phase 2 clone trooper that looks just like this. You can also select between Phase 1 and Phase 2. So, you can have some more customization options. And then you can swipe through name characters like Captain Rex, Commander Cody, Commander Fox, Captain Vaughn, Commander Gree, Commander Bly, and any other commanders Lego has made. Now you might be thinking, oh, this would be a great way to get some Phase 1 versions of current clone troopers, and although that would be awesome, I think realistically Lego would not be able to do that because, the greed and whatever, and they're trying to make as much money as humanly possible, so unfortunately it probably wouldn't be in there until they've made that figure and it's been out for a couple of months or maybe a year. You might be thinking, oh, this would be a good way to get characters that Lego has never made before in this feature of choosing what character you want it to be. No, I don't think it would work like that, but I'll get to that later. Let's say if you do choose Commander Fox, you can of course include the physical waist cape, get rid of this white stripe that should be red, and of course make the pink white just by doing a waiver of double printing. And I'm sure you could probably glitch the system into doing it. And then let's say instead of choosing a named character, you decide to stick with a normal clone trooper. Then you can swipe through legions, 501st, 212th, 91st Reconnaissance, 41st, Coruscant Guard, 327th. I don't think the Wolfpack would be included until Lego makes it. The 187th, the 332nd. There's a lot of potential in there. So yeah, you could choose the Clone Troopers Legion, or you could just say normal Clone Trooper. And let's say if you do that, then you can, change it and include printings wherever. Like, let's say I want to make a custom Captain Hauser. First off, I'd get the new pauldron piece and turn it into a light turquoise. Put some printing on the chest area, and then on the helmet include those blue stripes. And personally, I would get rid of helmet holes, but that's a subjective thing. But yeah, this would be an awesome way to get clone troopers that Lego is most likely never going to make, or won't make for a long time. I mean, it took us 20 years to get Galactic Marines, so who knows when we'll get some desirable clones. Hopefully soon, but knowing Lego, more Captain Rexes. But yeah, but let's say instead I choose a Legion trooper. So let's say I choose a 212th trooper. So, I would move the printing up to where it's more accurate and get rid of helmet holes, but that's a subjective thing. Then I would just choose a normal blaster and boom, the figure would be made. But yeah, be sure to tell me your thoughts on this whole clone trooper factory system, because I think that would be a great way to, get rid of all of this division in the Lego Star Wars community. and I really hope LEGO would do that at some point. So, you know, I doubt it, but it would be awesome. Now, unfortunately, I don't think that this would be able to fix Commander Picard's chipmunk-looking helmet, though. And you can also use this to get rid of the small little details that LEGO got wrong on their figures, even though, do I think they should have gotten them right? Of course. But, you know, like, I don't really care about, you know, the color of 2 little packets on Commander Bly's belt. I'm now done with the Clone Trooper factory, so let's just get into some of the normal minifigure stuff. Or, like, whenever LEGO says that these figures should not have pupils because they have colored eyes, which is a stupid excuse. You know, during checkout, I could just swap them to have pupils. And I'm sorry to go back to Clone Troopers, but let's say during checkout, I ordered the Tandem 4 hallway set, and I want to make 5s look better, so I, you know, move the helmet holes down, put the printing back together, and give them a waist cape and reduce the size of the ammo pouch, and boom, it's an all-time great Clone Trooper. Or in this LEGO Ninjago set that I showed off earlier in the video, it included this awesome shirtless Zane minifigure that makes him look like he's straight out of Dragon Ball Z. And see, I love that, but I think in all of the sets that included Zane from the first half of the year that had him in his Season 3 Part 1 suit, have that. But you could swap him out to be shirtless. I mean, like, yeah, I know this sounds pointless, but I just think that would be a kind of cool feature. If you know you don't want to get the sets that he's included in with the shirtless figures, that you can just swap that out and it can work vice versa. Or you can make White Vision look like the actual character and not just like something that a child grabbed a gold crown and drew all over. Or with all of the recent Falcon minifigures, they have just decided for absolutely no reason to give him the brick-built wings instead of these awesome pieces. No, they are pieces, okay, that just look so much better. And the only bad thing is that they don't have much posability, but at least they don't fall apart on you if you try to play with it. You could also use this to give figures like their Clone Wars type armor or get rid of it. And you can also use it to get rid of the headsets, because, you know, I think that's a kind of cool feature, you know, because I'm not the biggest fan of these headsets, but, you know, I do like the armor, so I know I can, of course, just switch those heads, but, you know, those are 2 different eras of Anakin's life, because this Anakin is technically a Sith, and this one is more of a light side focused Anakin. Or there are some figures that really do need dual molded legs, so you can, of course, add those in. There are probably many downsides, but probably the main downside of this would be that it would most likely make the sets cost more if you bought them on Lego.com, because, you know, I'm sure, like, changing the mold and, you know, getting a new waist cape, that could be expensive for Lego, or at least they could say it's expensive. But yeah, be sure to tell me your thoughts on this part of the video. You know, being able to customize your Clone Troopers through, like, the minifigure factory type thing, or just being able to customize your figures in general. Also, I thought I should mention that this feature of being able to customize your Lego sets and, like, the figures that are not in the minifigure factory would only be on Lego.com and not, like, in Lego stores. Like, you know, I can't go walk into a Lego store and, you know, get the 327th battle pack and just say change and make the ATRT have the accurate cannon. You know, that would have to be on Lego.com. Or you can't just, like, walk into a Target and pick up the Battle on Peridia and say change the eyes to have pupils. You know, you're gonna have to do that part on Lego.com. So I thought this was a pretty cool idea that I had a couple weeks ago, and if I accidentally stole it from somebody, I am sorry, but I never saw your post or video. I came up with this on my own, or if I did see it, I forgot about it and subconsciously remembered. So I did not steal this idea from anybody. Maybe. But anyways, be sure to tell me your thoughts on it in the comments section below. And if you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like. If you didn't enjoy, leave a dislike. And if you're new around here, please consider subscribing, because if I get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year, I'll do a toothpaste reveal.